Mr. Olmert. So first of all, on a day, we'll talk about your initiative in a few seconds, but on a day like this, of course, we cannot ignore, the reality in the Middle East and the current events happening, at the moment. I know that you that you support this attack, on the Iranian regime, but I would like to know, was this extreme situation, this war, avoidable at any point along the process? Could anything be done differently from the beginning?
Well, you're talking back, like history, going back 10 years ago. At that time, Barack Obama signed an agreement, the nuclear agreement, the original nuclear agreement, which was signed with Iran, which I thought was relatively acceptable. It wasn't the ideal agreement. We saw some weaknesses in this agreement. The position of the Israeli government was totally against it. Well, I'm against the Israeli government, so I wasn't, and I dealt with the Iranian situation as Prime Minister, and I was very well informed about the options and what could be done, and therefore I was in favor of this agreement. President Trump withdrew from the American support for this agreement, and as a result, the Iranians started to enrich uranium rapidly and massively, and therefore at that time we thought that this was a terrible mistake. Now, Trump start negotiations with the Iranians. The question is, at this point now, okay, set aside everything that was in the past, but at this point now, when there were negotiations, could it end in a different way other than what happened in the last couple of days? I don't know. I don't know the very delicate and sensitive information. I don't know what transpired over there, what the Iranians were ready to concede, whether at all, whether they were prepared to withdraw or to postpone their dealing with enrichment for any period of time. I don't know. It would be irresponsible for me to suggest that it could have ended in a different way. I don't know. I think that President Trump, to put it in the most careful, sensitive manner, I don't know how much he knew about all of these different, let's face it, he's not known to be a meticulous reader of,
we hope he knew something.
Don't express your support of Trump so vocally, please. And one thing is clear. Look, Iran was for years talking explicitly in the most blunt manner against the very existence of the State of Israel, threatening the liquidation of the Jewish entity or the Zionist entity, as they said, developing nuclear capacity for years, developing long-range missiles, which were, as you could see, and regrettably we just now learned that 20 Israelis were killed in one missile landing today in Beit Shemesh this morning. So they are very, very, very bad weapons, which were developed in order to allow Iran, if necessary, to attack the State of Israel. They finance the proxies in Lebanon, they finance Hamas, they finance Syria, they finance the Houthis. They don't deserve any mercy. And so the question is, it may have that the negotiations, perhaps, I don't know, may have ended up in a slightly different way had someone been a little bit more flexible or the other. But by and large, Iran, this kind of Iran needs to be punished. And they were punished. And I am so happy that the one that punished them didn't pretend to say that he was fighting for us. He was not fighting for us. He said it yesterday in the most explicit manner. They are American enemies. This is an American war. I'm fighting for America, and I had to do it for America. So no one saved Israel, or no one got mixed up in a war in order to save Israel, which I think for us is very important.
But, you know, even when you support the attack, you ask yourself, what's the end game after this war? You know, and lives are, you know, being lost, and what is afterwards? How will this end? And more than that, when you talk about, you know, assassinations of leaders or toppling regimes, that also, you know, in history doesn't always end well.
Look,
there's always someone who replaces them, right?
I kept saying even a few days ago, and I keep saying it now, had I been in a position to decide, after the June war, half a year ago when we were taking first time together with America, I would have tried to look for a way behind the scenes to reach out for the Iranian leadership and tell them, hey guys, look, you understand now that you can't destroy Israel, okay? We know that we can't destroy Iran. Iran is an empire, it's 92 million people. It's an enormously powerful, rich nation. There is no way that someone can destroy Iran. We can't destroy you, you can't destroy us. Why not we start to talk and see what we can do together to change direction in a way that will make life easier and simpler and safer for us and for you, if you're interested. That's what I would have tried to do. Now, you may ask me now, what is the end game of Trump? How do I know what is the end game of Trump if Trump doesn't know it?
So
I'm afraid that there was not any strategy. And this is not something new, by the way. Look, my good friend, you know, was a great friend of Israel, and a very good and loyal friend of mine, George W. When he invaded Iraq in 2003, 2004, he didn't have an end-game plan. And so the attack was successful, and then everything was chaotic because there wasn't a plan. So this is typical that you are thrusting into a military operation because you are strong, you are powerful, you have the capacity to do it, and you know that America is not really in danger because when all is said and done, the Iranian missiles can reach Tel Aviv, and they do, unfortunately, but they can't really reach America. So what do you want to do? What is your next step? What is your strategy? I don't think that they know it, and therefore, while I support the attack on the first place, if it will be proved that there is not an end-game plan for the president, I will not hesitate to criticize the lack of wisdom, the lack of responsibility for not doing it.
So you're saying that in the end, every war should end diplomatically with an agreement, which is what we also saw in
Preferably.
Two last years.
That
yes,
there should be
well.
the end of the war should be with an agreement that will change the course of events into a different direction, a direction of compromise, a direction of trying to find ways of cooperating.
So that brings us to your initiative with Dr. Nasser El-Kidwe, where the both of you, and if you want to tell us a little bit about, how it felt from your side to go into this project with him, but you both came to a conclusion that even though it was probably the worst time to talk about a solution and an agreement, in the situation that we've been to when we started this, right? After October 7th, but nonetheless, you embarked on this project with him. And can you also briefly say, what are the strengths of this proposal.
You saw him now, right? You saw him now. Do you believe it? They are decent Palestinians. Decent.
Oh, these people definitely believe it.
Yeah. There's something that you may have not heard coming from the mouth of an Israeli or senior Israeli for years. But there are many like Dr. Nasser al-Qudwa that are anxious to move forward into entirely new realities on the basis of cooperation and mutual respect and compromise and compassion between us and them. And now this should not be taken for granted. By the way, we reached, this was my position long before. I presented, and we say it in our document, signed document from the 17th of July 2024, we say that a peace plan to conclude a historic confrontation, the historic conflict between Israel and the Palestinians, should be based on my plan from 2008 that I submitted to the Palestinian leader at that time, and he didn't have the courage or the wisdom or the inspiration and the leadership to sign it, because had he signed it in 2008, the whole life of the Middle East would have been different for years now. And the courage of Dr. al-Qudwa is to say this, actually, to sign an agreement to say that it is based on what I proposed in 2008, which his leader didn't sign, and that he thinks should have been signed then, and he still is loyal to this plan now, together with me, and trying to promote it across the world, and that's what we are doing. So the significance of what we did, and I'm talking about him, not about myself. For me, it was very easy because this was my plan. I have submitted it long ago. That's what I stood for. That's what I fought for. That's what I paid a political price for, because my opponents used every possible way of battling me in order to stop the surrender of the sacred land of the Jewish people to these savages, the Palestinians. That was the battle cry of my opponents at the time that I was prime minister. So for me, it was natural. But for him, in the middle of the war, when every day there are Israeli planes and tanks are fighting in Gaza, when so many thousands of Palestinians that are not involved in terror are killed on a daily basis, to stand up then, together with an Israeli leader, up front, facing the whole world and saying there should be peace on the basis of two states, as the Prime Minister of Israel proposed in 2008, requires a great deal of courage and leadership and determination, precisely that which was missing on the Palestinian side and which was manifested by him in such an admirable manner. So he deserves a big hand.
Some people in this crowd, some people might be a bit cynical and say, okay, these two people, they don't have executive power now, and it's a nice plan, and two, retired officials are proposing it, and it doesn't have a lot of, political currency. And the question is, what is the importance of doing it, even though it doesn't look realistic?
Look, those that are not capable of standing up front against the tide and speak up for what is important, even when they are not in a political position to actually execute it, they will never do it when they are. So if you are not capable of dreaming of something that never was, you know the famous quote of Joe Bernard Shaw, which was adopted by President Kennedy and by his brother Robert Kennedy. He said, most people see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and ask why not. And first of all, this question, you can put it to him, not to me, because I presented this plan at a time that I was prime minister, and I stood up for it, and I put it on the table. And the Palestinians never denied that it was presented to them. They just didn't have the leadership to sign it. But I presented at a time that I was in a position of power. He was not, but the fact is that what he is doing is admirable anyway.
So talking about the courage to say things, and I do think that recently you've been saying things a bit more bluntly than you used to in the past. I want to read a couple of words from op-eds that you wrote for Haaretz. By the way, who reads Haaretz in this crowd here? I hope all those are also subscribed. Two of my colleagues have a Haaretz t-shirt somewhere in the crowd, and they can help you with that. Oh, here they are. Over there. I'm going to read a few words from these, I think, very courageous op-eds that you wrote. One of them, its headline was, a settler drive to ethnically cleanse Palestinians is underway in the West Bank. Israel's security apparatus is complicit. And this is not something you just wrote recently because of current horrible events. This is something you also wrote in July 25 when you wrote, Israel's real enemies are the violent Jewish militias tormenting the Palestinians. So
yeah.
These are some courageous words there.
Look, I'm criticized in Israel by many who don't like my writings. And they say, how dare you? You were prime minister when a former prime minister, whose name is relatively well known outside of the state of Israel, say things like that, it causes a great deal of damage to the state of Israel. And my immediate, spontaneous response is, that's not what causes the damage to Israel. What causes the damage to Israel is what they're doing in the territory to the Palestinians. And then no one can deny the facts. The fact is that on a daily basis in the territories of the West Bank, there are Jews, quite a number of them, not just a tiny minority of delinquent, of juvenile delinquencies that are perpetrating some unfriendly actions against Palestinians. We're talking about hundreds of young Israelis that are assisted, that are fully equipped with weapons which were illegally given to them by the Ministry of National Security and Ben-Gvir, and that they are penetrating into the villages, trying to wipe them, burning groves, burning properties, killing people in such an obnoxious manner that it really is breaking the heart of people that don't want to be associated, as they are part of the state of Israel, with what Israelis are doing. And therefore, I'll tell you something. Look, and I'm not trying to pretend anything. It's not courage. It's not courageous to write it. It's essential. If you want, as a Jew, not to be linked to these actions, you have to speak up. And you know that without drawing any comparison, okay? Without drawing any comparison whatsoever. After the Second World War, there were many Gentiles that said that they didn't take part. And our answer was, you may have not taken part, but you kept quiet when it happened. And I don't want, as a father of 5 and as a grandfather of 12 children in Israel, who I want to live in Israel, and they are serving in the army, and they are part of our community, I don't want that any one of them will ever be able to come to me and say, hey, Grandpa, you saw it and you didn't say a word? You saw it and you didn't make any comment? No, I say it and I will make a comment and I will write and I will criticize and I will spread it everywhere in the world, because I don't want Israel to be what it is becoming. And I will take it. Let me go on, okay? Don't applaud me.
I'm
Do
sorry.
it at the end.
The clock says
We are about
you have to take
lose
these-
my time, so I'll tell you this. I said it, and I believe in it. I believe. I'm asked on many occasions on interviews, CNN, Christian Amanpour, Fareed Zakaria, and others. All are good, decent journalists. They asked me about the genocide. Is there a genocide that was committed by Israel? I said, no. I really, genuinely don't think that there was a genocide committed. I think that there were war crimes which were committed, but there will not be any way that can prove that the Prime Minister or the Minister of Defense directly were involved in taking decisions which could have been interpreted only in one way, to indiscriminate killing. That will not be the case, and therefore I am against indicting them in the Court of International Criminal Court in The Hague. But what happens in the territories where we are in complete control, when the Israeli police is lifting their eyes or closing their eyes not to see what these criminals are doing, when the Israeli soldiers are shifting their heads to the sides, when the Minister of Defense said from the beginning, I will not issue administrative detention against Jews, only against Palestinians, this was a way that proved to the criminals that they have a free hand to do what they want to do. And therefore, if the International Criminal Court will identify those who are directly involved in the criminal actions against Palestinians in the territories, they will be blessed.
Former Prime Minister of Israel, ladies and gentlemen, and please keep reading his op-eds on Haaretz. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please turn your attention to the screen for a special message from retired Major General Yair Golan.
חברות וחברים, it is good to be with you today. I wish it were in person, but I know you understand